One of our traditions at Albertus for our annual commencement ceremony is the delivery of remarks for our graduates. And it is now my honor to invite our newest alumna of the college, Dr. Donna Carroll, to come forward and deliver the 2025 commencement address. Dr. Carroll.
No, I don't think I'm going to use it. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Brogan Camille, President Camille, Chairperson McCrory, colleagues, students, family, and friends. Thank you for this lovely honor and for the opportunity to address the class of 2025. As you heard, my Dominican roots run deep, and so I know what we celebrate today, not only the academic accomplishments, but the shared values, the lasting friendships, and the sense of legacy. I, too, am a legacy graduate from more than a few years ago, but I still remember the message on my class t-shirt. Absolutely inappropriate to mention here, of course, but it was prophetic. Graduates, Providence has provided you with a special relationship with your alma mater, one that in years ahead will define you as a class. Revel in that distinction and let it keep you connected, mission-driven, and humble. As you know, I sit in Washington, D.C. at the helm of Catholic higher education, which gives me a particular perspective on the post-commencement experience of the class of 2025. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about politics. I don't want to give your president a heart attack. But I do want to say a few words about today's culture and the dimensions of character needed to navigate that culture with integrity. You are at a pivot point, my dear classmates, where the rubber of academic life meets the road of opportunity. Now is the time to ask yourself, what does it mean to be a fearless falcon, inspired by the intellect of Albert the Great, the practice of Thomas Aquinas, and the passion of Catherine of Siena? How does that makeup influence the choices that you will make? Just recently, I read an opinion piece in the New York Times that described the culture of our country as having a callous tolerance for cruelty. My heart ached when I read that statement, and yet I know it is increasingly true. I also know that it does not describe the disposition of most Catholic colleges and universities. Graduates, your Albertus Magnus education, grounded in Catholic social teaching and animated by a feisty Dominican spirit, has been contagiously countercultural. It has taught you to respect the dignity of every person, to be courageous in the face of injustice, and to lead with compassion and generosity. Your diploma is a moral compass in addition to a credential. And for those of you who are still wondering about the value of a liberal arts education, consider that these are the disciplines that feed your soul, that offer you beauty as an alternative to cruelty. I confess, I was an English major in college, and I've always been fascinated by the beauty of a compelling story. So let me tell you a timely, if humbling one, about the year my student commencement speaker gave an impassioned speech in front of over 2,000 guests about what he learned from not getting into medical school. What I learned was to always review the speeches of students before I let them deliver them at the podium. His story was a story of resilience, leading to a prominent career as a physician. I share this story, graduates, because even the good life is a roller coaster. One moment you're accelerating upward, the next plummeting seemingly out of control. The poet William Blake wrote about this human condition. In particular, he highlighted the importance of finding your own equilibrium. In Blake's words, "To mercy, pity, peace, and love, all pray in their distress, and to these values in delight return their thankfulness." In other words, graduates, life is a balance of intention and grace. When the going gets tough, pursue your passion, but also have faith in providence when the going gets tough. And try to see a little bit of the divine, even in circumstances and in people who seem cruel. As you know, it has been my privilege to serve as the president of another Dominican university, like Albertus Magnus, for almost 30 years. Some say I was crazy. I like to think that I discovered a career, a mission, and an academic family that altogether were so meaningful to me that they shaped my life's work and my heart. That is the depth of vocation and delight that I wish for each of you graduates, to find a purpose and a workplace that align, and to belong to a community that challenges and supports you. I am confident that your Albertus Magnus education will anchor that pursuit, and your appreciation of its value will grow as you grow. Let me close with a few words about character from author David Brooks, and then I want to share one last story for legacy's sake, and hopefully to make you smile. Brooks writes, "People of character are capable of long obedience, of staying attached to friends and causes and callings through thick and thin. They have scope, anchored by a set of permanent convictions about fundamental truths. And they are enmeshed in a web of unconditional loves, commitments that they cannot possibly complete in a single lifetime." All of that sounds distinctively Dominican, doesn't it, graduates? And now for my legacy story, which I believe President Camille has heard me tell before. Once upon a time, there was an older woman who lived a life of faith and service. And when she died and ascended into heaven, she was greeted at the pearly gates by St. Peter, who said to her, "What can I do to make you really feel welcome?" She mentioned immediately that she'd love a private conversation with the Blessed Mother, which he was able to arrange fairly quickly. She and Mary had a wonderful conversation, large-ranging conversation. And at the end of it, the woman said to the Blessed Mother, "Can I ask you one more question?" And the Blessed Mother said, "Of course." The woman turned around to Mary and said, "If there was one thing that you could do over again, what would that be?" And Mary paused, looked around, closed the proverbial door, winked, and said, "I would have had a girl." Woo! Legacy class of 2025. You stand on the bridge between what was and what can be in your life and for your alma mater. Live with integrity, courage, and joy, and you will make us proud. Congratulations.